Hey everyone, Arthur here. Now for the trifecta, people. The trifecta. I've covered PlayStation when they scared us to hell, giving us 3 months before they would close the PSN on PlayStation 3 and Vita, but ended up only closing the PSP and not even completely. I'll get back to that when they decide to close it for real, by the way. Then I covered Nintendo with the 3DS and Wii U eShop closing. That was the longest series I've ever did, with like 25 videos or something covering hundreds of games. And now Microsoft has confirmed they will be closing down the Xbox 360 marketplace, so here we go again. Now, most Xbox 360 games were brought forward through backwards compatibility in Xbox One and Series, so we're losing far fewer games here compared to the Nintendo eShop closure and a potential PlayStation 3 and Vita PSN closure in the future. However, the forwards compatibility thing is not perfect, and a considerable number of Xbox 360 exclusives will be lost. And by exclusives, I really mean 100% exclusives to the Xbox 360 that are not found in any other console, that are not forwards compatible to any other Xbox, and that are not found in physical form, only digital. So that's what I will be focusing the most on this list. Games that are not forwards compatible and digital only. I'm also including games that are console exclusive to the Xbox 360, meaning only found on PCs, as well as games stuck in the 7th generation, meaning only on the PlayStation 3 and 360, because I believe many of you may only have one console on that generation, and many also prefer playing on consoles rather than PCs. On this channel, we always focus on lesser known games, so you can look forward for lots of obscure games here too, and on future videos I plan on covering Xbox 360 DLCs, physical Xbox 360 games that tend to get more expensive, the OG Xbox games that are found on the 360 digitally, as well as the physicals that are forwards compatible to the Xbox 360, games that are only found in the Xbox ecosystem, meaning not on PlayStation or Nintendo, as well as videos focusing on the Xbox 360 hidden gems in a general sense. So you have a lot to look forward on this topic, so stick around, subscribe to the channel, and I hope I can be of much help to you. Alright, let's do the intro, then I'll detail some important aspects about the closure, and then we'll go to the games. Welcome to the channel, this is From the Void. Okay, before we go to the list, let's quickly go through some details about the closure. The Xbox 360 marketplace is scheduled to be closing on July 29th, 2024. After that date, we won't be able to buy any games, DLCs, and other media through the Xbox 360. Anything you have already purchased, however, will be playable and downloadable for the foreseeable future. Online features that don't involve financial transactions will continue to work, so you'll still be able to play your Xbox 360 games online. One thing to take note here is that a lot of people, myself included, are having issues with registering a paying method and getting it to show up when purchasing games on the 360. I am currently having that problem. My PayPal account is set up on my Microsoft account, but it's not showing up when I actually attempt to buy a game on the 360. I'm still looking into this, but I have found a workaround, which is to use the Xbox gift cards, which you can purchase in local stores in your city, as well as in many different sites. The one I use is PC Game Supply, but there are many others. This method is also flawed because the funds you add don't show up in the website marketplace, so you can't buy a game from there with gift cards in my experience, which some would prefer, I bet, but at least this way you can buy through the Xbox 360. Alright, I think that covers the most important parts, so let's move to the games. Alright, let's begin with some good old punk rock, the Dishwasher. 2 games in this series, but only the first one is 100% an Xbox 360 exclusive, but the sequel also makes the cut as it's only otherwise available on PCs. Okay, the original is called The Dishwasher Dead Samurai, and it's a freaking dope video game. It's hard as nails from the very beginning though, so it may not be for everyone, with every single encounter posing a real challenge, but if you like a good side-scroller hack and slash action, this is the bomb. That's because it doesn't fall into the hack and slash trap of dull repetition of combos, as you'll need to pay attention to the enemies on screen to avoid their attacks while at the same time doing your own, so it soon becomes a very interesting gameplay where you'll need to quickly decide who to attack and what combos to use, and even which weapons that will maximize your efficiency. And that's required because, like I said, this is a tough game. You can die rather quickly with just a couple of mistakes in a row. To balance it out a bit, if you manage to do the correct finishing move on stunned enemies, they will drop hearts to replenish your health. You also have freedom to upgrade your stuff, which is cool, and every stage also has a few hidden collectibles that are worth searching for. So yeah, great gameplay, lots of gore, dope punk rock soundtrack, and a crazy dystopian setting makes this one to grab for sure in my opinion, unless you don't really like your slashers to be hard. If that's the case though, the second Dishwasher feels much more approachable, at least in the entire first half, mostly because the enemies have much less health on the same difficulty. The entire game is more polished than its predecessor in every single way, so this will probably feel like a better game for most. But I like them both pretty much the same because the rawness of the first one feels weirdly fitting. Each game will cost you $9.99, and like I said, the original is 100% exclusive to the Xbox 360 and digital only, so this is gonna be officially lost forever in 2024 in an official capacity. The Dishwasher is a freaking great series that I wish would return in some capacity. Moving on to a deeply buried hidden gem stuck on this generation that really doesn't deserve that. Microbot. The name may not sound too exciting, but the game is fascinating. You control a tiny machine injected into the bloodstream of a host to help getting rid of infections and such. It's a very similar idea to Nano Assault, and I love it. This one does the details of the organism and its various systems and cells very well. It's impressive. Blood jets sometimes swoop you away. You'll encounter several familiar cells in the body, such as red blood cells, defensive cells, and friendly bacteria, all depicted in a rather realistic way. And the gameplay here is another highlight. Your machine has 3 appendages that you can equip with different weapon and propulsion parts as you choose and upgrade them. And later on, the number of appendages increases, making it even better. The combinations are varied and pretty interesting. There are homing missiles, machine guns, dart weapons, and a lot more, not to mention the different kinds of propulsions, some providing better turn capacity and others better speed. The enemies are quite threatening when in big numbers, and exploring the organism feels great. This is a solid twin-stick shooter going for $9.99. It's digital only and never left the 7th generation, only available on the PlayStation 3 other than the Xbox 360 as per my research. Next, we'll take a look at 2 Xbox 360 exclusives that belong to the beloved South Park franchise, beginning with South Park Let's Go Tower Defense Play. Yep, it's a tower defense game, which is very fitting to the South Park universe if you ask me. You will battle against hordes of ginger kids, 6th graders, cows, gnomes, terrorists, and all other antagonized group of people from the animation. The South Park themes, jokes, and iconic locations and characters are depicted in a very satisfying way here, and the gameplay is also solid. I especially appreciate how you can switch between the 4 main characters, and some more you unlock as you go, and each with their specific traits. The ones you're not controlling will stay in place and attack enemies that pass by. This is not a masterpiece or anything, but definitely an enjoyable tower defense game, especially if you like the show. The other South Park game though is definitely the weakest entry on today's list, but still an okay game worth a mention for sure. South Park Tenderman's Revenge. This is a side-scroller platformer where you can switch between the South Park boys, each with their own special abilities, as well as a special transformation which changes their abilities if you find their unique item. And the game also allows you to pick up objects, destroy parts of the scenario, and mixes action sequences where you can use weapons. They clearly had some great ideas here, but the execution never really pays off. Not in a way that would make this game great anyway. It's okay, but it's missing some flair in pretty much everything. Both South Park games are $9.99 and digital-only Xbox 360 exclusives. Moving on to the very surprising Warp. This game is pretty great. It's half action and half puzzle, I guess. You control this alien guy who is being experimented on by creepy scientist guys, but he gets his alien warping mechanism back, and now it's revenge time. He can teleport through walls and, more importantly, inside objects of about the same mass as him, which is the main idea of the game. This allows you to move completely undetected, and you can even teleport into the scientist guys and mess them up until they freaking explode from the inside out. Really gruesome and awesome. Of course, there is a lot more, but suffice it to say, this is a really interesting game. Fighting your way around, especially while grabbing all the collectibles, is challenging and enjoyable, so this is definitely one to consider. Warp is $9.99, a fair price for the quality here, and only found on PlayStation 3 and PCs other than the Xbox 360. This next one is a fantastic hidden gem that deserves so much more recognition. Capsized. This is an excellent game with a lot of substance, and it also looks beautiful, kind of hand-painted like. It's impressive. You control an astronaut that crash lands on an alien planet and will need to find a way to survive and fix your spaceship. To do so, you can make use of a jetpack and a grappling hook that you can both use to attach yourself to walls and ceilings, as well as to drag objects, including some big ones. The level and enemy design is great here, so the whole experience feels satisfying and meaningful. The game is somewhat short, about 5 hours to finish, or twice as much if you go for everything, but those will be some well spent hours for sure. Capsized costs $9.99 and is a console exclusive to the Xbox 360. Next, I swear this may not look or sound like anything great, but it's the one game I kept coming back to the most on this list. We're talking about the unbelievably enjoyable Rainbow Islands Towering Adventure. And that's all because of the classic Rainbow Islands gameplay, that in my opinion is pretty much perfect. It's all about climbing up using the signature rainbows that serve both as climbing mechanisms as well as your weapon to defeat enemies. And you must defeat the enemies to get power-ups to improve your rainbow reach, rate, and your speed. As you go, you'll learn how to be efficient and manage the weird jump momentum this game has, as well as how to kill enemies with stars instead of rainbows, which you can accomplish by destroying the rainbows by smashing on them from beneath or from above, and that makes the enemies drop the crystals that remove a big chunk of the boss's health if you collect all of them. The gameplay is insanely addictive and enjoyable, and this is the best Rainbow Islands I've played. Granted, I still have to play several other entries on this series, but this one is also the most recent Rainbow Islands, I believe. The graphics and music are definitely lacking, but the gameplay will more than compensate. This game goes for $9.99 and was only found on the already defunct WiiWare, so now it's 100% exclusive to the Xbox 360 and digital only. Next we have Crimson Alliance. This is obviously a Diablo clone right here, and a surprisingly good one. It simplifies the loot stuff, it doesn't focus at all on that aspect, enemies will only drop gold usually, and new weapons and equipment will be restricted to treasure chests or buying them between stages. So the game focuses on the gameplay, and it's surprisingly successful at that. Everything feels fluid, you can choose between 3 characters, the mercenary, the assassin, or the wizard. They each have only a few abilities, but but the result is a pretty well-balanced gameplay that will require you to master all of them. It's a simple yet enjoyable time with Crimson Alliance. Now on the store you'll see this game appear as free, but it's not really. You download the trial version for free, and you can try the first couple of stages, but then need to unlock the full game for $14.99 or just one of the 3 classes for $9.99. Crimson Alliance is a digital-only Xbox 360 exclusive.
I'm on a roll at cemetery, go, go, go. Kicking A's, I'm chopping bones at cemetery, yeah.
Now for some more punk rock with Charlie Murder. This is from the same developers of the Dishwasher, if it wasn't clear enough from the music and graphical style, but this time it's a beat 'em up, and a great one at that in my opinion. It counts with deep customization for your equipment, the gameplay is really tight, you have access to a wide variety of different combos, and it even shakes things up with a lot of creative sections with different gameplay like driving sections and band practice. This is fun all the way through, even if some aspects are not super well polished. One of the best beat 'em ups of this generation for sure. It goes for $9.99 and it's a console exclusive to the Xbox 360, only found on PCs elsewhere. Next is a pretty ambitious title, Fusion Genesis. This one may look like a regular twin-stick shooter, but it's a lot more than that. But that's also what makes it a game not for everyone. Fusion Genesis is deep, long, and complex in a sprawling world with 5 factions in war against each other. And as for the gameplay, it divides itself into missions which in the beginning may feel repetitive and dull, but it soon becomes much more enthralling. There's even mining involved, a lot of upgrading of your ships, and making a lot of choices in an open-ended narrative. It's a lot of fun if you like this kind of game with lots of freedom, but it takes a specific kind of sci-fi loving player that really finds enjoyment in an immersive space simulation like this. If you are one, Fusion Genesis will feel like some really well spent $10. This is an Xbox 360 digital-only exclusive. Following up with a very obscure Xbox 360 exclusive, Schioid. This is a very simple game. There are 2 ships, one is red and the other is blue, and each stage has multiple enemies, which you have to defeat them all to proceed. And you do so by simply touching them with the correct ship. Red enemies must be touched by the red ship and blue enemies by the blue ship. See, super simple. However, there are 3 modes in this game's campaign. In the most basic one, you control only the blue ship and the AI controls the red one. A much more complex mode puts you in the control of both ships, each with one of the analog sticks, and this is insanely difficult. Your brain will constantly try to assign the ship on the right to the right stick, which messes you up once they are switched. If you do get good at this mode though, it's insanely satisfying, but it's not an easy task at all, will require a lot of practice. But this game's best mode is its multiplayer, with each person controlling one of the ships. So if you have a friend or significant other to play this with, this mode is perfect for you. In any case, there is a good amount of fun to be had with Schioid, making it feel well worth the $9.99 price tag. This is a digital-only Xbox 360 exclusive. Moving to a pretty neat puzzle platformer hidden gem called Constant C. This is a pretty great game of this kind that mixes 2 things, time manipulation and gravity manipulation. Time has actually stopped for everything but your little robot guy and his immediate surroundings. So you'll see a bunch of boxes stopped in midair. Once you approach them, they resume movement, but how they move will be determined by the gravity that you control freely. Now, gravity manipulation in platformers has been used so many times at this point, so it really doesn't doesn't sound novel, but in conjunction with the time having stopped aspect, it becomes much more interesting and unique to this game. You can switch gravity upwards, to the right or to the left by pressing Y, X or B respectively, which makes it very intuitive and allows you to tackle the high difficulty of this game that poses a challenge not only to figure out the puzzle elements of what to do, but also the platforming elements of how to do it, that places a big emphasis on momentum and anticipating what will happen once you switch gravity. For instance, you may need to move to the right as soon as you switch gravity upwards, but once you switch, now right is left, so planning is important and this feels really cool. Constancy is a solid puzzle platformer if you like them difficult. It goes for $9.99 and is a Xbox 360 console exclusive. Following up with a classic, Bobble Neo. This is pretty much the same gameplay of the original from 1986, only with different but not very good looking visuals. The gameplay remains fun though, if you like the Bobble series that is. It counts with a ludicrous amount of stages, so a fan will be well served for $9.99, though given how simple everything seems, it feels overpriced. This is digital only and 100% exclusive to the Xbox 360 since the WiiWare store was discontinued. You know in shoot 'em up games when you try to clear a wave of enemies, but then another wave of enemies comes up and you haven't finished killing the first wave yet, and there's just no way you will be able to defeat all of them, and now you're depressed? Yeah, this game fixes that issue. It's awesome. We're talking about Zeit 2. This is a side-scroller shooter with some really clever mechanics that make it rather interesting. With the press of a button, you can rewind time for as long as you hold it, or for as long as the time travel energy lasts. You can see how many seconds you have in the bottom left. When you do that though, you also create a clone of yourself, so whatever you did will be repeated, which is what allows you to clear multiple rows of enemies at once. It's genius. Another cool idea is that shooting bullets depletes your own health, which sounds like a bad idea, but actually makes the whole thing more interesting. Every shot counts, and it forces you to pay attention to the enemy's patterns. On the other hand, health pickups are often dropped by enemies, and you can surpass 100% health to a maximum of 200. The whole gameplay balance in Zeit 2 is enjoyable and exciting. This is a great game, a breath of fresh air for the 2D shooting genre. It goes for $9.99 and is a console exclusive to the Xbox 360. Next, a hidden gem called Storm. This is a pretty unique puzzle platformer where you have to guide the seeds to the spots where you can sprout into a tree. The way you do it is interesting. You control different elements of nature, each assigned to the appropriate colored button on the Xbox 360. A will conjure a gust of wind, which you can guide the direction of, X makes rainfall, and Y drops a thunder that can even reshape the stage's geography. This is a really well crafted gameplay with the physics working in an intuitive way. Really cool and unusual game, Storm. It's $9.99 and it's found only on PCs and PlayStation 3 elsewhere. Next is Ion Assault. This is a pretty cool Geometry Wars inspired twin stick shooter, but it does have a rather different approach that sets it apart. You don't shoot bullets in this game, instead you create an ion storm or something. And to get it to be effective, you must have gathered enough ion particles from the ion cloud that permeates the entire stage. It takes a while for you to get used to this. In the beginning you may wonder why your shots are not being effective, and shooting the ion storm is the main reason some people don't like the game. But I had zero problems with it. It's not even that unusual. To shoot the ion thing, you have to let go of the left trigger instead of the more common just aiming with the right stick. But that's because you don't shoot a stream of bullets, it's just one heavy powerful shot, so it makes sense. I even kinda liked it. The power-ups are also interesting, and campaign mode is challenging, especially if you go for the extra stuff, making the game reach over 10 hours, which easily justifies the $9.99 price tag. The game is the Xbox 360 console exclusive. And to close things off, a beautiful hidden gem, Yar's Revenge. This is a reimagining of a classic Atari game of the same name that looks like this. Yeah, Atari games, man, what the actual f. How they looked at that and came up with this, I have no idea. Xbox 360's Yar's Revenge is a on-rails shooter, and a damn excellent one with great graphics, cool theme, interesting story, and awesome gameplay. Yar, the protagonist, counts with 3 different weapons, each with their own use. Your regular shot is good to take care of small enemies that die fast. The powerful shot on the left shoulder is how you kill big enemies fast. It insta-kills anything except bosses, and if the screen is full of threats, you'll need to use the multi-targeting missiles. This may sound basic, I don't know, but makes for a rather dynamic gameplay that puts you in the edge of your seat, especially once you start getting what the power-ups do and how to use them. Great game here, and even if it understays its welcome, I found it worth the very cheap price of $4.99. This is a Xbox 360 console exclusive. And that's it for today. I want to thank Starlack and Lord Cosmos from the Discord server who provided invaluable help for this research. And I'll take the opportunity to invite all of you to join in and hang out with fellow gaming enthusiasts over there. I'll leave a link to the Discord server down in the comments. I plan on making many more videos on this topic, focusing on DLCs, physical Xbox 360 exclusives that tend to get expensive, OG Xbox games, games exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem, and 360 hidden gems in a general sense. So stay tuned for all that, subscribe so you don't miss any of it, and if you enjoyed and want to help out, the best way is through Patreon. I am currently having to split my focus with another job, but I'd love to concentrate all my efforts on making videos about video games, because that's where my passion lies. So if you appreciate my work, you can help me out on Patreon. No worries if you can't though, I am grateful for you watching it. So thank you for that, and I'll see you soon.